Welcome to the Mother Daughter-ish podcast. It's your mama's favorite podcast.
And the podcast your daughter always wanted.
This is Miss Dawn.
And Angelique.
From the 713. Houston, y'all. Get connected and stay connected weekly as new shows debut on Sunday, Wednesday, and please check out our Saturday Out and About showcases.
Enjoy the show. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell every woman on the planet that you know about our show.
Here's our show for today. Hey mothers and daughters, here I am again today with another amazing video. Today we'll be speaking with Miss Ilaria. She's going to tell you where she was born and where she moved to, how all of that went. I'm really having a great time talking about expats and talking about nomads and talking about these different transitions in life. And us as women, we want to know these things from people because we're always wondering, well, I wonder if somebody else can do it. Maybe I can do it, because I've met so many people. So many of you talking about, I'm leaving the US or I'm leaving this country and I'm moving there. Well, I wanted to speak to the people who have actually done it and to find out the joys that they're having. So welcome, Ilaria. Thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited, and thank you for doing this. I think it's very important for people to understand that definitely they're not alone in all the feelings, or when you move to a different country, there's all the similar problems. Let's say we come from different places,
Yep.
But yeah, the problems of nomadic life are similar.
Yeah, it's very true. And I meet so many people because I travel every month, and I meet so many people that will say, "Oh, you know what? I want to move to wherever." And I go, "Oh, okay. Have you visited there?" And they're like, "Nope." And I'm like, "I think you should visit to find out if the vibe is there, or to find out if it's somewhere that you can actually live. You can't just look at, a picture online and say, oh my gosh, I want to move there." Because I've seen a lot of pictures online and I've gone to visit and I'm like, this is great to visit, but not for me to live. So, speaking with people who have actually done it has been the exciting part, because you've seen what you've seen, what you can share that with other people. So let's talk about where you were born and where you moved to and when.
Yeah, so I was born in Italy.
Which
And
part of
the
Italy? Which
sorry?
part of Italy?
Milan, so the north of Italy, like the most industrial part, business part. Like it's sort of, if you look at London versus where I am now, so it's like the London of Italy, where everybody works hard, like they don't have a lot of fun. It's all about work. It's all about your career. And I moved to the UK in 2010. To Liverpool, actually, not to London. So, like a lot of Italians moved to London, I moved to Liverpool because I came here for a job opportunity. It's actually interesting what you were saying about like deciding where you want to live, but test the place before. My story was completely the opposite. I knew I wanted to come to the UK, or like have an experience somewhere like abroad, and I really wanted to go to London because I had been to London and I loved it.
Okay.
But then I've done like a graduate scheme after my degree in industrial biotechnology. I'm a scientist. I got assigned to this placement in Liverpool, and I really didn't want to go. I heard bad things about Liverpool. I heard that it was not very safe. There's been some history of riots in the 70s and 80s. And I just knew that it was dangerous. So I didn't want to come here. But then I didn't have any other choice. I couldn't find a job in Italy. So I came, and it's been 15 years this year. So I loved it so much. As soon as I arrived, there was something different here that I didn't know about British people. British people can be warm. They're not like working all the time like they do in London. They're just lovely people. I love the culture, and I just really embraced it from the beginning. So that's why I decided then to live here.
Now, did you go there on your own, or did you go there with a husband, with family, with anyone, or was it just like you left on your own?
I went on my own. I was already in contact with the company, though, so I knew that I was going to stay for 6 months and work for this big company. And they were so kind to arrange also my accommodation for the first 6 months. So I had like a base, I had somewhere to go, and I had someone. I was living with a lady, so she showed me around. She showed me some things. But then apart from that, I had to find my friends, and I was lucky enough to meet a lot of people from all over the world. And actually, I also started organizing my own meetups there for international people
Smart, smart.
because yeah, because although like the company I went to work for was international, so there were people from all over the world, but also I wanted to find them closer to where my accommodation was. So I
Right.
started organizing these meetups, and they were really successful, which told me straight away that a lot of people were having the same issues. Like you
Yes,
cannot,
yes.
you might find a nice job and make some money, but then you need to talk to people, you need friends, you need to socialize.
That is so
Uh,
very true. So your first meeting, how many people showed up?
Um, I think around 15. We went to the cinema, so like something light
That's
for
nice.
like, introverted people so they didn't feel the pressure to talk. And then
Right.
we went for a drink after. But yeah, this became, it's still going. I'm not running it anymore, but it's been going for 15 plus years.
Nice.
Somebody else took over, but it was like a bi-weekly recurrence for a lot of people. They used that as their base, where they would meet the people from the last time, but then always meet new people. And then people went on, and some couples were created during these meetups. A couple of friends got married, and they met through these meetups. After became friends for life. So it was a really amazing thing.
And are you still working for that same company today?
No, I don't. Now I'm working by myself. I'm self-employed since 4 years, though. I was for 10 years in that company.
Oh, nice.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yes.
Okay, that's really nice. Okay, so you went there by yourself. You created your own community of people by putting the meetup.
Yes.
That's so very smart. You know, it reminds me, I have a women's travel group for ladies 50 over, and whenever we travel to another country, we always put a meetup together to meet with
Mm,
people, or we'll find a woman professional group and we'll join them for lunch, brunch, or something like that. So I believe in
nice.
creating community wherever you go. So that's very smart. Now, so we got that part out of the way. So here's the part that a lot of the women I speak with, they're like, well, but if I go to this other country, I'm not going to be able to find a significant other. And that is like a big fear for women. I mean, I know a lady right now who wants to move to Mexico, and she's like, well, I can't move to Mexico because, and she had 50 reasons. I mean, they were all valid reasons. I don't know how true they are. I'm just saying they were valid for her to think it. But that's her number one concern. And she's so ready to go and do it. She works for herself. So she's like me. She can work from anywhere in the world, just as long as she takes a computer and has access to internet. How was the dating scene for you there, and how did it turn out?
I have to admit, at first it was difficult because my English wasn't amazing. So, I had like basic scholastic level English.
Right.
So I'm from it. So I used to stick with Italians at first, and then try to, speak with other people who are coming from abroad, because the English that you speak between people who are not is not our first language. It's much easier to understand. But in work, obviously, I was surrounded by British people. My actual husband is actually British. And the funny story is that when we started dating, I could not understand a word of what he was saying. And at some point after the second, third date, I went to him and I said, look, I think you should find somebody from this country, because we
Oh,
just cannot communicate. It was really hard. And then I don't know if in the US, the fact that in Liverpool they have a very specific strong accent. It's called the Scouse. So it wasn't just the English pronunciation; it was like a lot of like different accent that I've never heard before. So it was
right.
really hard for me. But then I'm very glad that I went, I persevered, and now obviously I totally understand what he said. But it took a while
Yeah.
because his accent is very strong.
Yeah.
But I would say I didn't come here with the idea that I was going to stay for long, because I was supposed to stay for just 6 months.
6 months.
So
Right.
I didn't notice. I wasn't like looking for love. I actually had a boyfriend in Italy that I left to move to Liverpool, because I wanted to travel and he didn't want to. So,
Right. Right.
um, but yeah. So like with my husband, the language was a barrier, but because we knew that there was something there, it didn't stop us. It wasn't a barrier anymore because we were like, okay, I started studying English, he started learning a little bit of Italian,
I love
so
it.
that,
I love it.
yeah,
Okay,
and
okay.
then we kind of we yeah we communicated in some ways. We managed to, so and
Glad
then
I'm glad you said that it was worth it and that you saw something there because I'm telling you, I hear from women every week talking about can't move there because I'm not going to be able to communicate and they don't really want to learn another language and they're just like I'm barely know English. So
yeah.
go and learn another language will be really wild and the one thing I keep telling women is when I go to other countries, I may not know their language but everybody knows my language.
Yeah,
Everybody has figured out how to speak a little bit of English. So I
yeah,
keep saying, don't be afraid to go because you will meet people who do know English, who are willing to learn English. And then you can learn a little, take your time and learn a little bit of whatever that next language is. So I'm glad that the two of you decided, you know what?
yeah.
There's something here. We'll figure it out. That's wonderful. I love that story.
Yeah, and you are just maybe some people might imagine I'm moving to the US, I'll just speak to people from the US, but no, like everywhere is like there's so many cultures, and like we live in such an era where like everybody has moved away from their own country. So even me, like I came here, I found loads of Italians, I found loads of French people, Spanish people, in which like the type of culture is much more similar to mine.
Hmm.
So you don't have to imagine like, okay, I'm going to the UK, I have to find a British husband. You could find somebody from your own country. So it's just a question of taking that little bit of a risk and just letting don't feel like you're gonna find barriers. Just give it a try. And communication is important, but like this speaking is not the only way that we have to communicate with other people and with the
And
so
today we are so lucky because we have Google Translate and all these other
yeah,
things as well. So now you have even more help in 2025, and we've had it for a while, but now you've got so many other ways that you can communicate. But a lot of people do look at language as a barrier that could keep them apart. So that's really wonderful. Now let's talk about you. You had a job when you moved there,
yeah,
so that's a plus. And even though you were only going to be there for 6 months, but here we are now, 15 years later. The dating scene worked out some kind of way because you have the
yeah,
husband now, and you also own your own business now. What
yes.
about family? Did you have any of your family that came to Italy at some point, or do you go back home every now and then? Well, go back to Italy because home is now where you are.
Yeah.
Go back to Italy sometimes to just visit the family. How did you
So
work the family part out?
yeah, that's an actually interesting question. Where is home? Because I always say that I go back home when I go back to Italy, and then I go back home again when I come back to the UK.
You
So that
say no.
home is a bit like an
Home is
abstract
where the
concept.
heart is, and wherever you are
Yes,
is where
that's
home
what I
is.
say. I got two homes. I cannot say that one is better than the other,
Yeah.
or otherwise my mom will kill me. So they no, my family stayed in Italy, so they're all there.
Okay.
We try to go as much as we can. Now I have two kids, so it gets a bit more complicated. When I was alone or when I was with my husband, we were going
Easier.
for weekends
Yeah.
because it's so easy at the end. Like with cheap airlines, you can just go quickly. Now because with the kids it's a bit more complicated, we try to go in the summer for Christmas and then another time during the year for like
Absolutely.
a longer period. But we are very lucky that the connections with the flights are very good. um yeah, I would probably have not stayed here for so long if I couldn't go and see my family so often, because I'm very, as we all are, I'm very close to them, and I wouldn't have stayed far away from them.
Right.
And then sometimes they also come and visit. So we found this solution. So my sister now, she has a little daughter. They came for Halloween because in Italy Halloween is not a thing. They don't
Right.
celebrate. So they
Right.
came here and did the trick or treat. So that was nice.
That's a very
Um,
nice. So
but also,
is it a short flight or something?
is it what?
Is it a short flight?
Yes, it's less than 2 hours.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay. That's
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely wonderful. So you could, yeah, I could see that
Yeah,
then.
I
Okay.
always say like I have friends who moved to the US from Italy, and I don't know if I would move so far away, so like in another
That's
continent,
a long
because
flight from,
they
yeah,
come home like just for Christmas once a year, and yeah, that I will have to think twice before like moving like so far away.
right.
I'm just really close to home.
I
So
can
for me,
understand
it's
that.
and then now that I have my business is even better because I can literally do whatever I want. Sometimes during school holidays, I take my daughter and we go together.
Yeah.
Or if I could, so my mom is not so young anymore. So like if something happened, I know that I can just leave everything and take a plane and I'll be there. So that is also is reassuring for me. So I've always wanted to find a better solution. And I think running my own business is a good solution for living a bit here and there.
Let's talk about your business. Like, how did you discover that? Because you did 10 years at the other company. Let's talk about how you decided to start the type of business that you have. Let's talk about your business. I think that's
Yeah,
wonderful because I love everything about the thought of always being able to just take my laptop and go wherever I want.
yes.
I said when I was in my 20s, I'm 52 now, but when I was in my 20s, I said, I just want a business that I can work from any corner of the earth without
Yeah,
being beholden to any particular place. To me, that just signified freedom in my life. And now that all the kids are grown and graduated and gone, it's like I'm living the dream of what I said when I was 23 years old. And
yeah,
that right there
amazing.
alone makes me happy because that means that I followed the path of what I wanted and I got it. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for it. It's like, okay, I said it and I meant it.
Yeah,
And
and you did it.
gonna put
Amazing.
yeah, put the action in place to make it happen, which is great because I get an opportunity to speak with great people like you, and I get an opportunity to meet people all over the world. I get an opportunity to run my own business right from this computer. Let's talk
Yes.
about your business.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. I try to remind myself that every time I go, for a walk in the middle of the day, even the simple things, I remind myself I couldn't do this 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
No,
I
no.
couldn't just decide that I'm tired today and I don't want to work and I'll wake up early tomorrow. So
See,
like
see, that's
just
my
letting
thing right
things
there.
out. Yeah, yeah, yes.
I love
And
being able to look at the clock at 11 and go, you know what, I'm tired. I'm just going to get under the cover and go to bed. If you work
yes,
for
why not?
someone else, can't do that. You have to wait until that shift is over. And by the time you get home, you still got to cook. You still got to
Yeah.
do this. You still got to take care
Oh
of
my
yourself.
God.
You may not
The
get to spend.
anxiety rising.
Yeah,
You make me anxious just talking about that. I'm
I
just so glad
know.
I don't have to do that anymore.
Because I
Yeah.
worked in corporate for 10 years before I started my own business.
Yeah.
I
Me
know the
too.
hustle and bustle of that
Yeah.
crazy. So how did you decide to start?
Yeah.
First of all, tell us the name of your business and what you do, and how did you decide to start that business?
So it's a consulting business. The name is Ilaria Sambi, which is my name, Ilaria Sambi Consulting, and I do tech consultations and setups. So I am a tech and systems expert. I build automations for businesses. So businesses who are growing, they want to become an agency or they want to scale. They need like the foundation, the systems behind the scenes that help them growing. So I do automations. I work a lot with a platform that is called ClickUp. I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's like a project management tool. It's similar to Monday.com, and it works as a CRM as well. So
Okay.
that's my favorite one that I set up for people behind the scenes. They can manage everything about their business from one place.
Okay.
And it started really randomly because I was on maternity leave with my daughter. She's 6 now.
Okay.
And I've always known that I wanted to do something else, but I had my background is science. I
Okay.
did scientific jobs until that point, and I just didn't know anything else. That was all I knew. I couldn't even think or figure out what else I could have done. I knew I had a technical brain and I loved organization and systems, but I have no clue, right?
Mm,
So when I had the time to stop and think about my 9 to 5 and really figure out what I wanted, I started looking online and I started realizing that people were working online. So, I started seeing on Instagram people selling their offers and courses, and I got so into it and I started reading and about how I could do the same. And I started as a virtual assistant, right? Tech virtual assistant, helping with things like bits and bobs. Like, so I thought I just need to start and then I can figure out what I can help people with that is techy, that is, and that's how it started. Really, it's just hard to explain, but it's like trusting the process and trying different things.
Right.
And then eventually, as soon as I went back, because I had to go back to work after my maternity leave, but the pandemic started. So I was off for a year for maternity leave, and then I went back for like a month, and then pandemic again. So I was home again with a lot of more time, no commute. I could develop this idea.
Mm.
So actually, the pandemic helped me making it happen so much quicker. I had like a plan to like leave my job in 3 years. Instead, after 1 year, I left it, and I started my business full time. So this is a story. But like this same thing as when I came to the UK, it really happened. I didn't have a plan, and I didn't have the plan to completely leave my business. It just started, I tried for a few months, and then things grew, and then I changed my mind of what was actually achievable, and I
Right.
decided I could do it full time.
Right, right. I love that. You know what? That is a true story of entrepreneurship right there because I'm telling you, it's unexplainable, like you said. It's like you know what you can do. You may not know how to do it, but because you believe in yourself, you'll figure it out as you go along.
Yeah,
And then you perfect it as you continue to keep going along. And that is
yeah,
so true. I love that. I love that. So who are your typical type of clients other than, of course, those who create courses and all of that? So for automation and
yeah.
I guess maybe there's a funnel involved or something.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
So
so
agencies, marketing agencies, especially, I'm starting specializing in what the marketing agencies need to do in the background for like leads pipeline and all those things.
okay.
But also coaches and online service providers. So people who need to deliver the workload, so like graphic designers or virtual assistants as well, and they don't have time to set up
Right.
their CRM behind the scenes or to set up automation. So they're wasting too much time in admin tasks that they could automate. And I help a lot of people setting up their systems.
Okay. Wow,
Yes.
that's really awesome. So would you say that being, and I know you're married and I know you've got small children that are probably being schooled, but would you say that the UK is the final destination for you as far as there's nothing else on the other horizon of, well, I think we may retire in Hawaii. I'm just making that up. But is
No,
it, I know.
lovely.
Is the UK, is that the retirement location as well, or is there something else on the horizon?
Well, I wouldn't say the retirement location because it's not exactly an ideal location, like weather-wise.
Okay.
So I would rather retire in a much warmer place. So I don't know yet, but for sure, I think when the kids will be older, when we retired, we'll have a think about whether to go back to Italy, move to Italy, or move somewhere warmer,
Oh,
because this is, I would say, if there's one thing that I need to say the UK is not great for, is for the weather. I really miss the Italian summers, and yeah, that summer here is hard for me. So
it
I would
is?
probably,
Okay.
yeah, retire in a place where it's where there is a summer. Really, there, I couldn't say there's a summer in the UK. It's always like, 15 degrees, 20 degrees max in the summer. It doesn't really,
Mm.
which no, it's not the best.
Wow. You know what? That's another thing a lot of people look at, when they're thinking about moving places. They look at the weather. I was talking with a lady who lives in Panama City, Panama, and she said the reason that she moved from Atlanta, Georgia to there is because it's 85 degrees all year long.
Oh, nice.
She said there's no natural disasters, no
Hmm.
flooding, hurricane, tornado, none of that, no snow, none of that. And she said at her, because she's aging, she's like, I have to have that type of weather. Like that works for
Yeah.
my body and my bones and my thought process. And she just retired
Yeah.
being a flight attendant. And she was like, yeah, I had to get away. I don't want to be in a place where there's natural disasters. She said it freaks me out. And she's single, she's older, and she's like, I just want to feel more secure and not always on my toes about something. And I said, you know what? That's a good thought to think about when you're moving
Yes.
somewhere, Now, let's talk about the food. Was there a big difference in the food? Because we all know the food in Italy. Everybody brags about how great it is. I've only been to Italy twice, so I've only had a certain amount of food because that's not enough
Yeah.
time to really get into
Yeah.
all of the things. But was there a big difference in the food? And what I'm asking is like, when our families get together, we have our certain foods that we love to eat. How is that different when you moved to the UK? Of course, your family's not there now. How did you handle the food situation, or was that just not even an issue?
It was hard at first, like not because it was the UK. I think everywhere, if I moved anywhere else in the world, so we all have our habits, our brands that we find in the supermarket that we like, or we like our mom cooking something in a certain
Yes.
way.
Yes.
So like adapting to the food was hard, but I found in the 15 years I've been here, it's much easier because we can find now Italian food everywhere. So if I really missed something, or like it was something silly as well, like a packet of crisps, like a brand of crisps that we didn't have in the UK. Now we have those as well. So like there's literally
Right.
every brand, every type of mozzarella, every type of cheese, every type of ham. But when I moved here, it was hard. It was hard because I couldn't find everything. And
Right.
actually, I used to bring back from Italy a luggage full of food from Italy, something that I don't do anymore now because I can live with whatever I find here. But
Yeah.
also, I learned obviously to cook British things. They do a great role and appreciate what they can make very well. So like they do roast beef, potatoes very well,
Okay.
uh, pies, loads of puddings are really tasty, and I didn't even know. So like I'm the type of person who was like I try to adapt, which is I
Mhm.
think the key for everything, not just with the food. When you move to somewhere else, you need to adapt to the culture, and the
Yeah,
food is part of the culture. So like
that's right.
if you're really like against trying new things, then probably moving somewhere else is not good for you. There's always needs to be the element of I need to try, I need to change my mindset, the mindset that I had so far. I know that a lot of Italians actually they don't last here
Right.
because
Oh,
food is very different. And Italians, for our food, we are adamant things need to be cooked in a certain way. So you cannot break spaghetti. I've heard all these things. Carbonara needs to be done in a certain way. But I'm not the type of person. I'm like, if people like to put cream in the carbonara, it's fine. I'll make it differently, but it's not going to change my day. Like, live and let live. So,
right, right. You know what? That's a good attitude to have because being able to adjust will actually, like you say, help you to get your mind right. But then also you discovered that there are stores there where you can get some of the same
yeah.
food. So that's a great way to think about it instead of the down part of, oh, I'm not going to be able to get this particular type of pasta or this particular type of whatever. So that's really good. And you've adjusted your palate because you're now eating different things over there. So that's a great. Is there anything
That's
else that you would like to share with us?
any thoughts?
Yeah, any thoughts?
Yes. No, I really enjoyed this chat. It makes me you brought me back to when I first moved to the country, which
Right.
was an interesting period, and I just actually am kind of proud of myself for what I achieved and for like there were a lot of things that weren't so easy, especially I think the language barrier, but
Yeah.
the a lot of things, but like it depends on like where your priorities are and like how you react to being in a new place. You need to
Right.
be
Right.
open, you need to give it a chance and things might change. So like they turned for me, and I don't think I'm gonna move anytime soon because I love it here. It could I moved to other places. I've been to France for a few months. I didn't really like it. It depend like but maybe it was the place where I went. I'm not just saying like okay, I don't like France. I'm never gonna go and live in France. It's just you need to give things a go and just be open minded.
Very true. That's very true. You're right. Like I tell people, you got to go and you got to feel it and see if it's in your soul.
Yes,
Feel see if it's, that vibe is there for you to know that there's where you are. Like it warms your heart enough to stay there. Well, thank you
yes.
so much, Ilaria, for being my guest today. I
Thank
have
you.
learned so much and I'm excited about everything that you said because I feel like it gives other people hope of like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. It's all about, like you said, perspective and being able to
Yes,
adjust and being able to look at the upside of everything instead of the downside of what you think it is and you don't even know because you're not there. So I've
yes.
enjoyed this talk and I appreciate you giving me your time today. And I'm glad I could jog your memory and take you back to some of those. Just talking to you and asking you questions just kind of off the cuff, it's like, wow, that's exciting to have been able to do that and to share this story with so many people. I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I hope that really this interview helps other people to encourage them to
Absolutely.
go for it and
Absolutely.
see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you, Ilaria, and I appreciate your time today. Enjoy.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.